Hello and welcome back to Matty's Tottenham Blog and to another Tottenham transfer roundup. We got not as many updates as usual today, but we do have a few on Alessandro Bastoni, Clement Lenglet, Christian Eriksen, Steven Bergwijn, Tanguy Ndombele and Bryan Hill. We also have some very concerning news about Emerson Royal. I know a few of you are speaking about it in the chat. He was robbed at gunpoint in Brazil last night, but we'll get into that a little bit later. If you are new to the channel, we focus mainly on transfers and not gun crime, so please do make sure to hit that subscribe button down below to be kept up to date with all of Tottenham's transfer business throughout the upcoming summer window. It's bound to be a busy one, and this is your number one place on YouTube to be kept up to date with all of that. And what better place to start than with Alessandro Bastoni, the 23-year-old Inter Milan centre-back who Tottenham, according to the Times, are struggling to persuade to leave Inter Milan. They say for now the defender is indicating that he wants to stay in Italy. Inter have made Bastoni available for transfer as they look to reduce their wage bill, and that, as we've said for a number of weeks now, is the deciding factor within this deal. Is will Inter Milan force Alessandro Bastoni out the door with their financial problems? I think it's expected that they will at least try to do that. It seems as though it depends on what offer comes in from Spurs, and as we mentioned a couple of days ago, Paul O'Keefe said that Tottenham are preparing a bid of up to £67 million, or a package totaling €67 million rather, for Alessandro Bastoni. And look, it simply comes down to persuading the player to leave Inter Milan, or if he's forced out at the other side. Alistair Gold has said the personal terms won't be a problem, but it is trying to convince him. Again, I believe that there is something of an agreement with those personal terms between Bastoni, his representatives, and Tottenham, but for him it's a fail-safe. He would prefer to stay in Inter Milan. I think it's well known that Italian footballers prefer to stay in Italy, and it's his boyhood club. He won the league 2 years ago, came very close to AC Milan at the top of the Serie A last year. So it's not exactly surprising that he wants to stay at Inter Milan, but if he does leave, he does want to work again with Antonio Conte, and he does want to move to the Premier League. At the moment, he's not sure if now is the right time to do that. But if he is set to leave Inter Milan, it looks as though Tottenham will be top of that list of teams who could potentially bring him in. So let's keep an eye on this one. Daniele Longo, who's an Italian source who isn't as reliable as what we usually cover on the channel, he's deemed as a tier 2 source on Twitter. He said that Tottenham are pushing very hard to sign Alessandro Bastoni. Work is ongoing over the figures of a deal. Should an important offer arrive, Inter Milan will give the go-ahead to the sale. He said then a little bit later that Alessandro Bastoni wants to remain at Inter Milan, but his agent is in contact with Tottenham. Let's see if the right offer arrives from Spurs. And we had quite a few updates yesterday on Bastoni, just to reiterate a few of those. Alistair Gold said that Tottenham believe that they will be able to sort out the wages and the fee for Bastoni. The only issue right now is Bastoni himself believing it's the right point in his career in terms of the Premier League. Paul O'Keefe said that Tottenham are doing everything they can to sign Alessandro Bastoni, and Matteo Moretto said that Bastoni is still Tottenham's number one choice, but he is very comfortable in Milan and at Inter Milan. And look, this is Tottenham's number one target for that left centre back position. We're prioritising that left centre back role. It's the number one target, number one position that we want to improve this summer, and Bastoni is the number one target within that position. This is one that Tottenham aren't going to give up on easily. It's not one that they're just going to turn around at the first sign of trouble and say we're not going to pursue this deal. As Gold mentioned yesterday, we need to be a little bit patient in this one because Bastoni has just gone off on international duty with Italy, of course, beginning with that Finalissima defeat to Argentina in London on Wednesday. I think he's 4 more games coming up in the next 8 to 10 days. So he's going to be a very, very busy boy. So any update on this one? From the player's point of view, I think we will have to wait a couple of weeks before we get that, which is going to be a painstaking wait for sure, but one that hopefully will end with some good news. Clement Lenglet, another centre-back that Tottenham are pursuing, and as I said yesterday, it seems as though this isn't an alternative to Alessandro Bastoni, and this would be a backup in maybe within that position, within the centre-back position. So there's, we're not exactly concerned that Tottenham have given up on Bastoni just yet. But the Times Sport have said today that Tottenham have been offered the chance to sign Clement Lenglet. Matteo Moretto in Italy says that Clement Lenglet has been offered to Tottenham and Juventus, but currently nothing is advanced. Now, as Alistair Gold said, Tottenham did try to sign Lenglet last summer, but at that moment he didn't want to leave Barcelona. That could be different this summer. He had something of a difficult season. Chora guy there saying Lenglet is a big no for me. And I know that does seem to be the general consensus, but just looking at a few of his stats here, we have defensive stats on the left-hand side of your screen and possession stats in on the right side of the screen. Tackles won, dribblers tackled. In and around average. The interceptions, blocks, and clearances number are quite low. But I will say about the clearances number, 1.88 per 90 minutes, which is in the bottom 1% of European football. What I would say about that is kind of balancing that with the right hand side is Lenglet doesn't just hoof the ball away for the sake of it. He's a ball playing defender. Like I mentioned yesterday, that player profile, you can see there the one trait that was listed on WhoScored.com for Lenglet is that he likes to pass the ball. He is a ball playing player. Or ball playing defender, and you can see that on the right hand side. He's in the top 1%, so this is of centre backs in the top 5 European leagues over the last 365 days. He's in the top 1% for passes completed, progressive passing distance, passes into the final third, progressive passes, and touches. So he's heavily involved in possession when he does play, which admittedly wasn't as much last season, but he's really effective on the ball when he does get it. Tony there says, imagine what happens when Conte improves him. I'm not sure if that's about Bastoni or Lenglet, but for both of them, it certainly matters. Some other stats there is pass completion rate is just below 90%, which is within the top 20%. His pass completion rate for short and medium range passes is very, very high, but that's been dragged down by his long pass completion rate, which, as you would expect, is significantly lower. It also there has 7.22 passes under pressure for 90, which is, as I've spoken about quite a bit, a very important part of what Christian Romero has brought to Tottenham's defence. His ability to play with that ball and pick out a pass under pressure gives him that extra second to see how the game is developing in front of him and being able to pick out the most effective pass. That's something, according to the stats, that Clement Lenglet is quite good at as well. Moving on to Christian Eriksen. I feel like this, as I keep on saying, is one that will be rumbling on for the rest of this summer. Sky Sports with an interesting report. So they say, first of all, Brentford have offered Eriksen a long-term contract, which has been echoed by a number of other reports. But they go on to say that Eriksen has said he wants to play Champions League football again and has been intrigued by the comments of Tottenham boss Conte about potentially being welcomed back to the club. And I think Conte said it a few times, being asked about Christian Eriksen, that of course he will be welcome at Tottenham. I think the majority of fans would welcome him. The majority of people within the club would welcome him. And of course Antonio Conte would welcome him. They won the Serie A together a couple of years ago before Eriksen was forced to leave Italian football. And it's one that I will reiterate that I'd love to see it on, for the nostalgic side of things, on a romantic level, seeing a player like Christian Eriksen back in a Spurs jersey, especially after everything he's been through. From a footballing perspective, I'm not entirely sure it's the best deal for Tottenham. In terms of the position he plays, I do think Tottenham need to look at a potential deal for a number 10. I know our current system, we don't play with that type of player in the team, but we need a little bit of versatility, because even though we ended that season really strongly, we're a bit of a one-trick pony, and I think we could become somewhat predictable if it is going to be that 3-4-3, overload the middle areas, get the ball out to the wing-backs, and make let the attackers score goals. I think that gets a little bit predictable, but if we bring someone like Christian Eriksen in, it allows us to switch from that 3-4-3 into a 3-4-1-2 or a 3-5-2, whatever you want to call it, and have that added ball-playing ability within the middle of the park, and hopefully we can create to break down low blocks that have been a problem for us really since Eriksen was at his prime in the first spell at the football club. And that 3-4-1-2 is a system that was very fruitful for Antonio Conte at Inter Milan. It's what he used the year he won the Serie A, the Scudetto. So it will be an interesting one to keep an eye on, but there's no doubt that a number of clubs are interested in Christian Eriksen this summer. Sam Dean of the Daily Telegraph has also said that Brentford are willing to break their wage structure in order to keep Christian Eriksen at the club as they look to build on their impressive first season in the Premier League, so trying to avoid that second season syndrome. Adrian says, Matty, true mate, Eriksen and another Zaniolo would be good for us. And I saw someone mention it as well, that AS Roma seem to have made Nicolo Zaniolo available for transfer, and he's a player that has definitely been linked with Tottenham quite a few times in the past. I would be concerned about that because he's had 2 very bad ACL injuries, and those are the type of injuries that once they happen the first time, they tend to keep on happening. I think he's had 1 in each leg, which is even worse. So Zaniolo, if it is a big fee, I'd be quite concerned about that, but there's no questioning he's a very talented player. If I was going to take someone from Roma, I'd personally opt for Lorenzo Pellegrini or even Brian Cristante at the back as a ball playing defender. But Zaniolo definitely does have talent. Chora Guide said Eriksen will be pretty good considering we have struggled with set pieces too, especially because he is available on a free. And exactly, it's financially it's a low risk. I mean, I'm sure we're going to have to pay decent wages to Christian Eriksen if we're going to convince him to reject the other offers he has from the Premier League, which I assume will be the top teams. I'd be surprised if Man United aren't one of those teams in for him. So look, on a free, maybe it's a good option, but for me, I just don't think he would be the best option for us at this moment in time. Spinazzola, injury problems as well. He picked up a really bad injury with during the Euros last year, so I don't know the extent of that injury or the long-term effect of it, but I'd rather he get back to the level he was playing at before that injury, before we go in for a deal there, because I assume that would be one that would cost a lot for us as well. A couple of other players, a name that has been mentioned again is Darwin Núñez. I think Alistair Gold mentioned him as one of the strikers that Tottenham are looking at in terms of not trying to sign him, but one of those players that is on the wish list. And Gianluca Di Marzio today said that he thinks Darwin Núñez is going to the Premier League. He said Manchester United, Arsenal or Tottenham. We don't know where he is going, but the Premier League must certainly be his next step. With regards to wing-backs, I've said quite regularly that I don't think Jed Spence is the best option for us at right wing-back, coming up from the Championship. I just don't think he's a ready-made first-team option. Paul O'Keefe on Twitter last night said that Tottenham are interested in Nahuel Molina, who's a right wing-back for Udinese, and Christian Falk has said recently as well, on the other side of defence, that Tottenham, Barcelona and Chelsea are interested in Stuttgart left-back Borna Sosa, who's set to leave Stuttgart this summer. And probably the first time we've wrapped up the news of incomings within 11 and a half minutes on a stream, but we have done it. With regards to outgoings, and the biggest one of the day is with regards to Steven Bergwijn. If I do that, you might be able to see him. With regards to Steven Bergwijn, and Ajax have made their first official bid of the summer for Bergwijn. They definitely made bids back in January as well. Fabrizio Romano says that Tottenham and Ajax are in talks over a deal for Steven Bergwijn following the Dutch club's official bid. He says that Bergwijn will be ready to agree personal terms with Ajax until 2027. The first report came from Mike Verwij of the Telegraph in the Netherlands. As we said in January, he has been right on top of this deal from minute one. He said that Ajax's first offer for Steven Bergwijn has been rejected. Tottenham have made the Dutch club a counter proposal, which would suggest that Tottenham are willing to do business and happy to let Bergwijn go. Agreeing personal terms with the winger will be a formality. He says that Ajax and Steven Bergwijn will agree a deal for a 5-year contract. The Dutch club have now submitted their offer. Jack and Nicky, great to see you in the live chat. And look, with Steven Bergwijn, we know he wants to go. I think he said himself that he needs first team football ahead of the World Cup in Qatar at the end of this year. He wants to be in that squad. And with the way things are going at Tottenham, it just doesn't really look like he's going to get that first team football with us. And going back to Ajax, to a league, to a country that he of course knows very well, I'm sure he'll be guaranteed a lot of game time with Ajax, who have just won the Eredivisie again. It'll be a good move for him. I'd be upset to see him go to some extent. He's proved to be very, very useful for us off the bench at times, but to be honest, he hasn't hit the levels that we really wanted. And what we need at Tottenham next season isn't backup and isn't players to come off the bench for the last 20-25 minutes, but we need another forward who can compete to be a first team player, who can challenge Kulusevski, who can challenge Son for those first team places. And unfortunately Bergwijn just hasn't reached that level. I think we kind of hoped that he would rather than expected it. It's just not going to happen for Bergwijn at Spurs, so we'll probably have to cut our losses there. Marlon, good to see you. One more report there is from James Alley of ESPN, who says the Tottenham Hotspur are continuing to demand up to €25 million for Steven Bergwijn, despite the winger's preference for a move to Ajax. And he says as well that the Dutch club had a bid rejected last week. And look, €25 million, if we can get that in for a player who pretty essentially is a backup option, that's very, very good business for Spurs, and will go a long way towards bringing in, like I said, a forward who can challenge for that first team place. Derek says, Matt, can you start the rumour that Spurs want Mike Cooper? Think he might do well under Lloris and Forster. And if we don't get him, he'll be snapped up by someone else, future England international. Do you know what? Mike Cooper is an absolutely incredible goalkeeper. Sometimes I've been watching Plymouth this season. I kind of struggle to understand how he's still playing in the League One. I'm not going to start a fake rumour, but I'll definitely start saying how much I want him at Tottenham as a future player. Brilliant goalkeeper, and definitely a name to keep an eye on for the future. One name that hopefully we'll be forgetting in the near future is that of Tanguy Ndombele. And Rob Guest of Football London put up an article yesterday talking about how Spurs players that were loaned out have done on their loan duty, and he was talking about how Lo Celso has kind of done Tottenham a favour by performing so well with Villarreal that it's going to be potentially easy for Tottenham to move him on this summer. He said that Ndombele has given us quite a bit of a headache. That headache could hopefully be coming to an end soon. Julian Maynard says that a Spanish club, whose name is not yet known, has started negotiations to sign Tanguy Ndombele. His departure from Tottenham this summer is likely. So we don't know who that team is. A few investigative Twitter users suggested that with Jules Koundé likely to leave Sevilla, that they might have a bit of money to spend and could look to try and bring Ndombele in. Conveniently as well, Ndombele was in Malaga yesterday, put up a post on his Instagram story. So hopefully there's truth to this, and hopefully Tottenham can recoup some of that huge fee we paid for Ndombele 3 years ago at this point. Brian Hill could be on his way back out on loan. Diario AS are saying that Real Sociedad are interested in Brian Hill, and Mundo Deportivo have gone a step further to say that Real Sociedad are in contact with Brian Hill over a potential loan deal. Personally, I don't see the use in loaning him back out to Spain. If he's a future option for Tottenham, if he's a player that we want to keep as an option, maybe even beyond Conte saying he needs to spend some time in England, he needs to be loaned out to a championship team or to a lower half Premier League team. Tottenham Gold has become a member joining the championship level. Thank you so much for the support. I really, really do appreciate that. But yeah, I think sending Hill back to Spain is a bit counterintuitive. But look, if it gets him game time, game time is game time. Nitin is asking about Skriniar. There's no news on Skriniar. I think he said yesterday that he wants to stay at Inter Milan and become a club legend. I know he's just been handed the captain's armband in the Slovakian national team as well. But regards to Skriniar to Spurs, there is absolutely nothing, and I'll be surprised if that does change. That's pretty much it on transfers, which is, again, we're 17 minutes in, and we're already done on that. This doesn't happen very often, especially during a busy moment in Tottenham's transfer business. But another story to bring you, as I mentioned on the top of the show, first reported by Jovem Panasportes this morning, Spurs right wing back Emerson Royal was the target of an armed robbery in Brazil last night. He says that shots were fired, but the Spurs man thankfully survived the ordeal. Tottenham Gold, there's nothing on Jesus at the moment other than reports of interest earlier in the window. Chris, there's no progress on Longley. Matteo Moretto said that there's nothing imminent at the moment. He's just been offered to Tottenham and Juventus. But on Emerson Royal, yeah, look, terrifying news. Of course, first of all, the thoughts and prayers go out to Emerson and his family and whoever else was affected by this. I'm sure it's a terrifying ordeal that will be very, very difficult to move on from. But thankfully he has come out survived, according to this report. It seems as though he was unharmed. Emerson himself took to Instagram to update people. He said, "God sends angels to earth. This is being confirmed every day in my life. This human being I call an angel risked his own life to save mine. I will forever be grateful to you. You contributed to me being here today." So it sounds like, reading the rest of it, he says, "Thank you, thank you, thank you. This photo was moments before the event where he said he was my fan and asked for a photo with me." So it sounds like a fan went up to Emerson Royal, asked for a photo, and ended up being the hero within this situation where, again, shots were fired in this armed robbery of Emerson Royal. But the key thing is, of course, that Emerson and everyone else who was involved with this is fine and unharmed. One more bit to bring you as well. We're keenly waiting the announcement of Tottenham's new kit, and this seems to be it. This kit has been delivered to a sports store in Ireland, according to some posts that I saw on Twitter earlier today. Look, it's a nice kit. I'm a fan of it. I was talking to David Harris, the Irish Hotspur, and a few others, and it seems like there's a bit of people not quite liking the yellow stripe around the collar and around the sleeves. Personally, I like it. It brightens it up a little bit. The kit that we have for this year is just plain white, and I think that's just a little bit boring. And it makes sense as well, that kind of curved, you see that kind of under the collar and going over to the armpits of it, that kind of curve. That's part of the Nike brand this season, which they have that same template for every kit. We saw the Barcelona kit released yesterday or the day before, and it had that kind of curve around the chest as well. So if it is a fake kit, it's a very damn good version of it, but it does seem to be the genuine kit that Tottenham will be playing this season. Dave Kirby with the super chat. Dave, thank you so much for the super chat and for the support. Said, when is the transfer window open, Matt? I believe the transfer window is open on the 10th of June, so this day next week. I just want to confirm that really quickly. Last thing I want to be doing is giving false information. I'm pretty sure it is the 10th of June, though. I thought this information would be easy to find on the internet, to be honest. When does the transfer window open? So the transfer market will reopen on Friday, the June 10th. So this day next week, it will open. Says in line with most major European leagues, the most international deals will not go through until July 1st. Not quite sure what effect that will have on Tottenham's business, but it says as well the Premier League will close the transfer window on Monday, September. I think it's September the 1st. Monday, September 5th, maybe. But yeah, it's open anyway on the 10th of June, and we will be doing a deadline day stream whenever it's closed, which is Monday, September 1st at 11 p.m. BST. So hopefully there's some busyness going on for Spurs at the early stage of this window, as requested by Antonio Conte. Tony says, are we interested in Cucurella? I think there was mentions of him, but in terms of interest in actively pursuing a deal, it seems unlikely, because they're going to command a very high fee for him. And if anything, it looks like if he is leaving Brighton for another Premier League club, it looks like it'll be Manchester City, and Tottenham certainly can't compete with them on a financial level. I would love Cucurella, but probably just looks a bit impossible at the moment. Look, we will wrap it up there. One of our shortest transfer streams, it has to be said, but you can hope that it'll be a lot more busy in the coming days and in the coming weeks. And like I mentioned, if you want to be kept up to date with all of Tottenham's transfer business, please do make sure to hit that subscribe button down below, and click the notification bell as well if you want to be kept notified whenever we will go live or upload. If you haven't seen already, I put up a video I want to say 2 days ago with Uncle Sharma, Inter Milan fan and content creator, looking at how good a signing Ivan Perisic is for Tottenham and how good a signing Alessandro Bastoni could be for Tottenham. So do make sure to go and check that out on my channel if you haven't already. But for me, for now, as always, thank you so much for watching.